Bruchim Habayim, we welcome you in the spirit of celebration and peace in honor of Susan and Gary. This is a very special simcha, a very special happy occasion for the two of you and for all of your family and your loved ones throughout the country. The poet Goethe once wrote, "This is the true measure of love, when we believe that we alone can love, that no one could ever have loved so before us, and that no one will ever love in the same way after us." In our tradition, you know that at a wedding ceremony, one of the first things that the rabbi does, or the person who's conducting the ceremony, is to lift up a cup of wine and offer a blessing over the bounties of the earth. Just happen to have it. And in the traditional way, there were actually two blessings over the wine. One to note the blessing of engagement, and then to note the blessing of kiddushin, of holiness, because your marriage, your 50 years, has been a reflection of holiness and beauty and commitment through all these decades. So I want to recite the blessing over the wine in your honor. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Gary, take a sip and give some to your bride. Two special comments I want to offer for you in this beautiful night. First of all, what does it mean to be a man and a woman, and to share 50 years of devoted and loving life together? In the Hebrew, the word for man is ish, and the word for woman, many of you have heard this before, is isha, which sounds like the same word, but it has an extra which is actually a hey, the letter H at the end. But the rabbis say, what is the difference between a man and a woman? The term for a woman is a longer word, isha. It's two syllables, and it actually has two extra letters. It has a yud, a y, and the h. And yud and h make a short form of God's name, like hallelujah, praise God. So the rabbis tell us, when you married Sue, you were still a man, but you were not yet infused and imbued with the blessings of God. And in taking this beautiful woman to be your bride, you were given the extra two letters, the Yah, the blessing of Adonai. And once you accepted her and you bound yourself to her, then the spiritual wholeness of your life began to unfold. And that's why Ish and Isha come together. The other beautiful words I want to share for you are these from Song of Songs. Song of Songs is our love poetry, and sometimes at a wedding, the rabbi will sing, or the cantor will sing a few verses. You are fair, my darling, you are so fair. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats streaming down Mount Gilead. Your teeth are like flocks of ewes climbing up from the washing pool. Your lips are like a crimson thread. Your mouth is lovely. Your brow behind your veil gleams like a pomegranate. You have captured my heart, O my beloved, my own, my bride. You have captured my heart with one glance of your eyes. I hope you will always feel that way about one another as you continue this magnificent journey together, and all the road will unfurl, come forward for you in the decades ahead.
My parents have been married for 50 years. Today is the recommitment to each other. For 50 years, my parents have spent every day together, except for the days they were apart. My parents are the best people I know, and I would still say that even if we weren't related. My mom is comfortable to be around. She's genuinely genuine.
love you
Yeah,
too,
love you
Alicia.
Thank you, Alicia.
Years ago, I did a lot of exploration, looking for the meaning of life. And one of the things I did was a past life regression. And I met Gary in 2 previous lives. So once he was the owner of the inn and I was the barmaid, so I'll let you figure that one out.
Nothing's changed.
And then once we were Indians riding the plains together, and I think that's probably why we have such an affinity for the Southwest and for New Mexico. So when I say I will love him forever and always, I mean that we are soulmates and have been together through the ages and will continue on through eternity.
Thank you.
If you found a smile that is the sweetest one you've known, if you have heard within a voice that echoes of your own, if you have felt a touch that stirs the longing of your heart and can still feel that closeness in the moments you're apart, if you have filled with wonder at the way 2 lives can blend to weave a perfect pattern that is seamless to the end, if you believe some things in life are simply meant to be, then you have found your soulmate, your heart's own destiny.
That's nice.
Love you.
You can kiss her on the lips, you know.
No, I have a fever blister. God damn.
So, I've made many decisions in my life, and many are from my head, being very logical, and others are from my heart. And it seems that those decisions that I make from my heart are the best decisions that I ever make. And many, many years ago, 1961, I met Sue in chemistry lab, and a friend of hers asked me if I could drive her home, which I did. And that started our relationship. It was 1961. And tonight is very appropriate for celebrating decisions of the heart, because what I've decided tonight is another decision, and that is to have decades more with my lover and my sweetheart. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to do this tonight and to have all of my friends here. And it's just very, very meaningful. And thanks for being mine. And my next decision is, I do.
As the words from Song of Songs echo, Anila Dodi Vidodi Li, I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine, and the radiance of your eyes and your smile in your eyes say everything to us. Let it be, as Shakespeare once said, she is mine own, and I as rich in having such a jewel as 20 seas, if all their sand were pearls, the water's nectar, and the rock's pure gold. May it always be that way for you.
Amen.
I would like to ask Bob Wartell, who's going to share a special poem for us.
This is a poem written by Sue's brother, Robert DeVoe, and apparently sent by email all around the world. So, this is the story of Gary and Sue. It all began in a chemistry lab at good old Temple U. Susie said, "How do you do?" Gary said, "How do you do what?" Or was it the other way around? And thoughts began spinning in Sue's multitasking brain. I just met the boy I'm going to marry. Hey, let's do that experiment again. After almost 4 years of courting and sporting, it wasn't easy, but they were determined and comforting. Finally, in December of 1964, they tied the knot and waltzed across the floor. Then came living together, dental school, working through problems, and keeping their cool. The Army needed Gary's skills, so he took his dental drills and ventured off to Vietnam and all those infested hills. In July of 1968, Alicia came upon the scene, and Michael then followed 2 years later. After 2 apartments, they all settled down on Meeting House Lane in Mariontown. All the comforts of an office and a home, a school across the street, and good grounds to roam. The house was enlarged in size and population, a dog and a cat, plus a good staff to aid the dental operation. The kids went away to schools that were tough, the family spread itself out from the rough, and the supporting cast grew, both families and friends, and times changed, and things changed, and life changed again. They finally decided to leave the old corner, retire to the hinterlands with wide vistas and views. Their eastern roots kept them in touch with the Atlantic, although the commutes were a slight touch of frantic. They settled down into seniority and grandparency as their children grew into adulthood and self-reliancy. The family's branches spread to multitudes of locations, and very few roots remained at Marion Station. So on this 50th anniversary of the Waltz Across the Floor, here's hoping they'll have a few moments or more to privately look back at a half-century of history and silently contemplate their magical mystery. Life goes on, love is forever. The blessings of the Lord are a perpetual endeavor. And that's from Robert DeVoe. So I wasn't going to be here tonight because I don't like Gary that much.
I'll tell them why.
But he asked me to be the best man tonight, and so I couldn't turn that down. And I came as late as I could. I'm going to leave as early as I can. But I'll make the most of it while I'm here. This is a toast to Gary and Sue on the 50th anniversary of their first wedding. So, what can I say about Gary and Sue? I need answers. I need answers. What can I say?
They're loving too.
Yes, there's one. Anybody else got a good answer? Okay, I'll continue. Now it's my turn to tell you my thoughts about Gary and Sue on their 50th anniversary. First, before I make the toast, I have to tell you about my qualifications to be the best man, although that should be obvious. I met Gary in 1963. We were freshman dental students at Temple University School of Dentistry. Gary and I became close friends. I still don't know why. And wasn't long after that I met Sue. And Gary and I became great friends. And I was married at the time. I got married right before dental school. And so Gary and Sue and Bob and Jan became really good friends. We did all kinds of things together. We went on trips together. We had parties together. We spent so much time together and had a wonderful time. Great friends. When they got married, Gary and Sue in 1964, I was the best man then, which is why I couldn't turn down the honor tonight. So, we were both married couples now. We had a lot in common, except for one thing. Jan and I became parents at the end of the first year of dental school. And Sue didn't. Sue and Gary didn't. And Gary's mother became really, really afraid. Really afraid. Here's what she was afraid of. She was afraid that if Gary and Sue spent too much time with Bob and Jan, Sue would get pregnant. She was. She suggested to them that they not spend so much time with us. True? So we got through dental school. Sue didn't get pregnant, and we stayed friends. But then Gary and I had a separation because it was the Vietnam War, and everybody had to go join something, or they would take you out of your practice. Dentists were actually being drafted out of practice, so just about everybody out of our 129, because that's all that was left, joined one of the services. I joined the Air Force because I didn't want to be away from my family at sea, and I didn't want to go overseas. Gary chose to join the Army, and I guess he wanted to go to Vietnam. And, well, that's twisting the truth, but he did wind up in Vietnam. And we came back, fortunately, at the end of our 2 years. I was in Las Vegas, Nevada, by the way. There's a great Air Force base there. And I spent 2 years there. And we came back from our tours of duty, and Gary had not been injured, which was great, being in Vietnam. He did come back having learned one lesson, which was anytime there's a loud noise, hit the floor, dive under whatever's nearby. And he kept doing that for a couple of years after he got back. It was that ingrained. I, on the other hand, came back and hadn't lost very much money gambling, so I figured that was pretty good. Let me tell you something that I like to do to Gary that Sue hates. I like to pick on Gary. I like to tease Gary. I like to point out all the differences between Gary and me that make me look a little better in my own eyes. And Gary really hates that. But he got a chance to get back at me once. This was in the 1970s, and we had a party at their house, and it was just a 4-person party. And I was somehow lying on the floor. I was either drunk or stoned. And Gary took that opportunity to take a bottle of beer and pour it all over me.
Did I really do that?
Yes, you did. And Gary and Sue and
I would have wasted the beer.
Gary and Sue and Jan loved it. I actually did too. I liked Gary to have an opportunity to get back a little bit. We have been friends for 51 years. And Gary and Sue and me. And it's been a wonderful friendship. When I moved here 25 years ago, Gary and Sue started visiting. And they would come sometimes twice a year. And they stayed at my house. And they... Pardon?
Our room.
Your room at our house, that's right. They had their own special room. And after many years, they finally decided to move here. And I felt honored that they had chosen to do that. And that was just such a wonderful thing to get back together with them again. They also became extremely fond and fell in love with my wife, Pat. She's my other wife. I didn't tell you about her. And for good reason. So, in a nutshell, that's loosely, roughly why I'm qualified to present this toast after 51 years of extremely close friendship. It's really an honor. I couldn't have turned it down. And let us lift a glass.
Virtual.
To a wonderful, loving couple, the most wonderful people I have ever known. My life would have been extremely different had I not been close to them all these years. To Gary and Sue.
One who is part of this beautiful evening to celebrate Sue and Gary's 50th anniversary. As King Solomon once said, about his beloved. Let me be a seal upon your heart like the seal upon your hand. For love is fierce as death, passion is mightier than Sheol. Its darts are arrows of fire, a blazing flame. Vast floods can never quench my love, nor any river drown it. I hope your love will continue ad olam, forever and ever, and with strength and with great happiness.
Thank you.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
How many more?
Decades!
All right.
Begin to know
Need your lovely bride out.
the meaning of
Look up.
Happy anniversary is the words. It's Linda Quiet and Amy Talk.
You and your wife are wonderful. Not going, I'm just helping.
Here's to you and Sue. I don't have the champagne glass.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Our pleasure.
So you're rational. No, if you'd asked my advice, I would.
at all. And yet we're not too young to know this love will last though years may go, and then someday they may recall we were not too young at all. And then someday they may recall we were not too young at all.